You think you've hit your limit. No reason left to take another step? I used to feel the same. I lost everything in a single moment. Standing in the thickest darkness, believing the world had slammed shut its last door on me. Every effort felt pointless. Every dream shattered at my feet. I wanted to let go. Forever. But there was one thing that made me stop. And that changed everything. You think you've hit your limit. No reason left to keep going? I used to feel the same. That day, everything happened so fast. I couldn't even understand what was going on. In just a few hours, everything I had poured years of my life into, my work, my projects, my trust, was gone. It wasn't just the loss of something material. It was a blow that cut deep into my pride, into the trust I'd placed in others, and in myself. I can still remember the look in my coworkers' eyes as they apologized, their voice trembling but firm, saying, "There's nothing we can do to save it." The canceled messages, the calls no one answered, every ring of the phone back then felt like another knife twisting in my chest. That night, I sat alone in a dark room, a pale yellow glow from the streetlight spilling in. Outside, the rain tapped against the glass. Inside, a storm raged in my head. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into an endless void. There was nothing left to hold on to. I thought, maybe this is it. I've done everything I could. I lost. The words echoed in my head, slow and merciless. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw broken images, the trusting smiles of people I had promised I wouldn't let down, unfinished plans scattered on the desk, the dream that once kept me awake with joy. That loss didn't just take away my future. It stripped away the meaning of my present. I didn't know who I was without that dream. I didn't know where to go if the road ahead had been erased. And in that moment, I was ready to disappear from it all. I didn't disappear, but I wasn't really living either. In the days that followed, I moved like a shadow, existing out of habit, not desire. Every morning, I woke only to wait for night to come. Time passed like blank pages torn away, leaving nothing worth remembering. I still went out, still met people here and there, but it was all just a shell. I heard their conversations, saw their laughter, yet felt nothing. In my head, the same question repeated hundreds of times. Why am I here? For what? Sometimes, I tried to fill the emptiness with small chores. Cleaning the house, rearranging the bookshelf, scrubbing every corner of the kitchen. But the busier I made myself, the more I felt the hollowness inside. So I started wandering, without purpose, without destination. I walked through familiar streets that suddenly felt foreign, places once full of memories, now nothing more than silent walls. I saw street vendors working under the rain, an old man with a cane walking slowly but steadily, a young woman holding a cheap bouquet, with eyes that still sparkled. At first, those images just passed me by. But gradually, without me realizing it, they began to stay. I realized that even though everyone carries their own burdens, they still keep moving forward. No one knows what tomorrow will bring. Yet there are still people who choose to plant trees, choose to smile, choose to hold on to the little things they still have. Still, when I returned to my dark room, those glimmers of light weren't enough. I still hadn't found a real reason to keep walking. I was still in the middle of the journey. One I had no idea where it would lead me. All I knew was I hadn't stopped. Not because I was strong, but because I hadn't yet found a way to end it. Then one afternoon, while wandering aimlessly, I stopped in front of a small cafe tucked into the corner of a street. Through the fogged window, I saw a boy maybe 10 years old, sitting in a wheelchair, drawing with trembling hands. Beside him sat a woman, probably his mother, smiling patiently as she waited. On the table lay a nearly finished drawing, a blazing sun rising from behind green mountains. I couldn't hear their voices, but the boy's eyes lit up as he made the final stroke, as if he had just conquered the entire world. In that moment, a question burst into my mind. If this boy, with legs that can't run, can still find a way to walk toward the sun, what reason do I have to give up? I stood there for a long time, not because of the picture, but because of those eyes. Eyes that refused to surrender, even when the body had its limits. I suddenly understood. What had trapped me all this time wasn't just the loss itself, but my belief that the loss defined my whole life. I realized I still have legs to walk, hands to work, eyes to see the beautiful things in this world. I still have the chance to try again, even if everything has fallen apart. And most importantly, I still have the power to choose. The truth is, the end doesn't happen when we fail. It happens when we decide not to get back up. I took a deep breath. For what felt like the first time in months, the cold air filled my chest, bringing with it a strange feeling, both aching and light. I turned away and started walking. But this time, it wasn't to run away. I didn't know where the road ahead would lead me. All I knew was, if I still had one more chance, I would take it. If only to see the sunrise one more time. From that day on, I began my return. Not with a loud or dramatic comeback, but with steps that were small and slow. I opened the folders I had once abandoned, reading through the dust-covered notes page by page. At first, everything felt tangled, like a mess of knotted strings. That exhausted me just to look at. But I didn't put them back in the drawer anymore. Each day, I tackled one small task. Rewriting a paragraph, making a phone call, answering an email. I also reached out to the people who had once walked beside me. Some listened in silence as I apologized. Some smiled softly and said, "I knew you'd come back." Not everyone opened their doors to me, but the few nods I received were enough to remind me that I still had a place to stand. I started setting new milestones for myself, not dreaming of big wins right away, just aiming for today, to be a little better than yesterday. Some days I failed. Some days I slacked off. But unlike before, I no longer saw that as the end of the road. Each morning, when I stepped outside, I saw everything differently. The familiar streets, the small eateries, the old trees, all became reminders of how much I had missed when I only looked down. Now, I had begun to lift my head. I knew there would still be days of exhaustion, moments when I'd want to let go. But I also knew I was no longer the person from those months lost in the dark. I had returned to the path, not to reclaim everything I had lost, but to keep moving forward, even if that road led somewhere entirely different. Because, in the end, what matters most is not where we end up, but that we didn't give up on getting there. These days, I no longer think I have to go back to being who I used to be. That person is gone. Gone with all the things I lost. And I am a new version of myself. I've learned to treasure even the smallest things. A warm cup of coffee in the morning. A quick message just to check in. A sudden smile from a stranger on the street. They don't turn my life around instantly, but they remind me that I'm still alive. And to live is to still have the chance to change. I've started taking on new challenges. Not to prove anything to anyone, but to discover my own true limits. Some days I do more than I expect. Some days I fail hard. But instead of collapsing, I see those moments as necessary pieces of a bigger picture. I've also learned to share my story. At first, I was afraid of being judged. Afraid people would think I was weak. But I realized that when I speak up, I not only feel lighter, I might also help someone still stuck in the dark realize they're not alone. Every time I look back, I see this journey has been neither short nor easy. But it has taught me that strength doesn't come from never falling. It comes from finding a reason to get up every single time you do. Now, if someone asks me, how do you keep from giving up? I won't give a pretty answer. I'll simply tell them that there was a time I thought I'd hit rock bottom. But I still had one reason, however small, that kept me here. And from that reason, I've made it to today. Because sometimes, moving forward isn't about running fast. It's simply about not stopping. And if you find yourself in the middle of the dark, remember, the dawn will come. As long as you're patient enough to wait. I once believed that loss was the end of the story. But now I understand it's only a comma. A pause so the story can continue, just in a different way. If you're tired, if everything feels meaningless right now, know this, it doesn't make you weak. It only means you're human. And humans have the right to fall, to hurt, but also the ability to rise again. No one can promise that the road ahead will be easy. But I can promise you this. If you keep going, even for just one more day, one more hour, you'll eventually look back and realize you've come farther than you ever imagined. Don't give up before your story has the chance to turn the page. Because who knows? The best part of your life might be waiting just beyond the very next step you're about to skip.